We're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. Thank you all for coming out today. This is a great turnout. We had an event last night at the Arts Center from 5 to 8 that we had beer and world-class musicians. It turns out that subs are all we need to get a crowd out. We had a nice crowd last night, but y'all apparently like subs better than beer and world-class musicians. So again, as we continue to go through this process of looking at the Uptown area and what it may become and what's possible and how development occurs there and throughout the rest of town over the next years as we begin to and continue to grow and develop. This is an important step, and your feedback is vital as we make these decisions about how our community continues to evolve. So today, I'm sure if you were here earlier, I hope you got a chance to go around, and if not, afterwards, you'll have that opportunity to some of the boards to see some of the initial concepts and talk with our consultants about those concepts, get more information, and provide feedback. Now I'm going to introduce as well, Jen is in the back there, if you can wave, from Development Strategies, and Justin is back there as well. And they will be around to ask questions and provide information, as well as Matt Wetley, who is the principal with Development Strategies from St. Louis. So I'm going to turn it over to him now and let him take it away.
Great. Thanks so much, Bob. And thank you all for being here. This is wonderful turnout. And we really appreciate this. We're going to need your continued feedback. We were here a month ago. So many of you turned out for that, and I think you're going to see us reporting back what we heard from you all, and what you'll see over here on some of these boards are our efforts to incorporate a lot of the thinking that you all provided into what we think holds a lot of promise, and what you all have told us is a crucial area. It's really the center of your community, Uptown, geographically, and in terms of the volume of people that see your community. Is kind of the first thing that they see. It will be the last thing that they remember, and so it's really important that whatever happens here is done well and done right, and it's going to require some new thinking and some new ways of doing things for all the parties involved in development. That's the community, that's the private sector, that's the public sector, and that's what we're here to kind of create a new model for doing development. What you won't see on any of those alternatives is a complete lack of development. It's not. It's what we want to do is we want to really put forth realistic strategies that work within the legal framework and economic framework, but also incorporate community thinking and community benefit. And so you'll see different scenarios. None of them are, there's no one strategy to realizing a new and renewed Uptown. What there are a series of ideas that we need to get feedback from you all on to give us direction on a preferred strategy to move forward. So what we're going to do, I'm going to kind of walk you through a presentation. I'm going to share some thinking on placemaking, and we're going to invite your feedback. There will be, I know many of you have already contributed thinking, and you've gone to these boards. Hopefully, if some of you haven't had a chance to do that, you can stick around and give us your feedback after the presentation. And so we're really looking forward to having a continued conversation with y'all, because what we're going to do is come back likely in the winter months, January, February, with some refined thinking that incorporates this round of feedback that we get from you all. And all of this will be, a lot of our content will be, and in fact, in some ways, more detailed content will be on the website, ClemsonNEXT.com/Uptown. Also follow us on, follow the city on social media. We'll keep you updated. So the last event, as we said, we had a really good turnout, got a lot of feedback from you all. We're going to share with you some of that. We were very fortunate last time to have great weather. We've got great weather again, so we're kind of 2 for 2. We've kind of really lucked out with that. Over 100 of y'all turned out last time. We got 320 survey responses. 2,000 unique visitors to the website since the beginning of October. So that's really good participation. We really need that from you all. If you're new to this process, this is the area we're talking about. We're talking about a special opportunity for something that's going to inherently need to involve development, something that could be really, truly special and one of a kind. And we're talking about this area kind of south of Tiger and on both sides of College Avenue. And we're especially focused in this presentation on that space between College Avenue and Abernathy Park, south of Tiger. And this is part of what that opportunity is. So many people, we did the strategic plan last year. They said, we've got a lake on the edge of our downtown and our main street. Wouldn't it be great if this was enhanced, if this could be something that's one of a kind, that's unique to Clemson? And we agree with you. This is really special. This has the potential to be something really special and unique. This is what's here today. And what I think is important for everyone to understand is this will not likely, we always say one scenario is in any city plan is to do nothing. Everyone has told us they want this to be something other than what it is today. From a legal market economic structure, we want you to understand that likely this is going to change. This is an opportunity to get out in front of this and provide feedback and think about how, if and when development occurs, and it's really more when than if, what are ways that you as a community can maximize public benefit as development occurs. And that's going to take creativity. We will say we work all over the country. We've worked in numerous communities, and where districts and neighborhoods and new development occurs that is not everything that it can be, or that is in some ways inferior to what the opportunity was. The challenge is, the reason for that is a lack of creativity. That involves imagination. You'll see a lot of imagination has been put into these boards and these concepts, and a lot of it responds to ideas that you all provided us. But the creativity we're talking about, it's more than that. It's problem solving in the real world, okay? It's thinking about real constraints of economics and the legal framework. It's not just pretty pictures, it's real ideas, real problem solving. That's the kind of creativity that we're talking about, that we're gonna all need to continue to participate in. It involves trust. It involves being able to put out an idea and having somebody else share an idea. Maybe you don't both agree, but you can keep bouncing ideas off of one another so you find some kind of deal, some kind of compromise. That's the creativity we're talking about. It inherently requires partnerships. You're going to hear us talk about that a lot in this process. And it requires, yes, realistic expectations. It requires compromise. It requires follow through. We're here to tell you we've been working in a lot of communities that working through a process that involves creativity, invites creativity, that is what's going to lead to the best realistic development and uptown that this place can be. And we got such great feedback last time. And if you look at some of the words that people posted in that one word exercise, what would you all like this place to be? Cool, creative, hip, beautiful, pedestrian friendly, planned garden, parks, an entrance to the city, right? There's so many great ideas here, and we hope that when you all see these scenarios, you'll see us responding to that. And the conversation, the other word you'll hear us talk about repeatedly is trade-offs. We're not here to tell you development won't occur here. We're not here to tell you there won't be any student housing anywhere in this district. It's not realistic. We could draw that for you, but it's not realistic. What we can do is find ways to orient development of a variety that includes student and non-student housing, that includes a mix of uses, that includes inviting an active public space and enhances that wonderful lake and park that you all have, that amenity, and does it in a way that has realistic trade-offs. That's what we're trying to put in front of you all. And these are the kind of the four buckets that in any city, in any redevelopment, in any development, that we have to be conscious of and respond to. We want to make sure there's a market for something. We can't draw something that isn't real. There's economic feasibility, but also this area needs to be a great place. That's going to be essential, and it needs to respond to real policy and real goals that you all as a community have said that you want for your community. In terms of the process, as I said, we worked all over the country. I want to share with you, because we're doing a development framework. And what does that mean? Well, for one, we're focused on, in this presentation, in this process, place and quality of life. We did a strategic plan last year that was talking about growth. And the reality is growth is coming to this community. How you respond to it and how you get ahead of it and out in front of it is what is within your control as a community. This presentation, this focus is on Uptown. It's about land use and development. And it's about how to create the best place and quality of life, given the realistic sort of legal economic framework that we understand. How can you all get the most from this place as a community? And and so part of the strategic plan was really on how to accommodate growth and development. And we identified these 4 or 5 specific sites within the city to really focus development. Because so many other places, it's about enhancing and preserving neighborhood character. These were the 5 places that came up, and Uptown is one of them. This is a real focus on land use for Uptown. And a development framework really guides the type and amount and style of development and density and use, as well as setting aside areas for public space. It's different from a physical master plan. A physical master plan is a specific design that leads to construction documents and built projects. This really comes before this. This would be a guide to whatever happens in the future. And what we're part of right now is that dialogue, asking you all as a community, what do you want this place to be? But we also are asking, what can this place be? And that means, looking at that realistic framework that we were talking about, the economics, the legal framework, and so on, and see where we can align those things. Where we are in the process, we're at step 2. We're coming back to you all with alternatives, right? The first meeting was about listening. This is about putting in front of you different alternatives so that you can react to them. Tell us what you like. Tell us what needs improvement. That's where we are. We're going to take that feedback. We're going to work on that, refine that, and come back and see if we can advance a scenario even closer to something that you all as a community approve of. And again, if you haven't, just a last shameless plug for the website. Please sign up if you haven't already. It's our best way to keep in front of you and keep you apprised of everything that's going on. So feedback, we had that first meeting. In fact, we've been soliciting feedback in a variety of ways. We had an open house last night. We've interviewed, we've done stakeholder interviews. We've talked to property owners. We're here listening to you all as a community today. We're working to engage with folks on social media. We've got that website presence. And this is about those in-person community workshops. And, we asked folks in the last meeting, what would you describe, or how would you describe what Uptown is like today? And these are some of the words that, number 1 was congested, right? And I want to address this because the city is working on and going to be working on a citywide transportation plan. That's not what this is. This is about focusing on land use and development and where we can address traffic issues through land use. You'll see a lot of ideas that we're putting forth on this, but this is not a citywide transportation plan. That's not what this is. We want to focus on, for this, we are asking of you about development, giving your ideas about development and public space and how to use the land itself within a realistic framework. Other words that came up, in fact, in total volume, these other words, though smaller, came up more. This place is unwelcoming, it's uninviting, uninteresting, unappealing, unpleasant, right? A lot of uns. And boring. These were words that came up. You will see a lot of strategies to address a lot of those words. What do you want Uptown to be like in the future? And those are those words that you saw, right? Accessible, vibrant, walkable, inviting, welcoming, a destination, friendly, interesting, exciting. You're going to see a lot of ideas that help enhance and address those words. And so, just at a high level, we had, I think 320 responses, just a summary of some of those. And by the way, we've got boards, and we'll have all this stuff on the website if you want to look at more detail and all the individual comments. Strong division on student housing. You know, we wish the wind would comply a little more today, but it is 72 and sunny, so we probably can't complain too much. Oh goodness, there we go. Okay. All right, I know, right? I mentioned student housing and the wind picked up. It's sunny. So, what we did here is folks open to expanding housing options generally, a strong interest in gathering spaces, and expanding open space, an interest in cultural destinations and commercial amenities, desire for more family-friendly places and spaces, attention to managing traffic and access. Again, this isn't a corridor plan for Tiger. We're not going to solve every issue about Tiger, but I think we do have some strategies that could really help mitigate some of those issues. A concern about retail and vacancy, importance of dedicated convenient parking, desire for pedestrian comfort and safety. And we've crossed many of your streets and experienced that firsthand as pedestrians in that experience. Openness to public art in the public realm, creating things that are authentic to Clemson. So this is what we need. We need these are the comments and feedback we've gotten. We think we've got some strategies that really address a lot of these things, and we need your help by focusing on land use. So what I'm going to do is share with you elements of place, and then I'm going to go into the specific scenarios a bit more. But I want to talk about what makes a great place, and a lot of these respond to the exact words that you all said. We agree with you. You said you want it to be walkable and vibrant. You want shared public spaces. You want it to be welcoming. And we want to add to that enhancing of natural systems and making a livable environment. So I want to take each one of these, break these down a little bit, talk about how these contribute to a great place and a great district, and share with you some of these ideas. And I want to show you how we might go about imagining how we might apply these in this area. So walkability, extremely important. This is actually an image of Greenville. I know you all are familiar with that. So many people love that Main Street environment. Wide sidewalks, things built at a human scale, and trees. It's part of the magic of Greenville is their wonderful street trees and how healthy they are. And so the plan and all the strategies you'll see really contemplate that. I don't think we have any sidewalks that are less wide than about 18 feet or 20 feet. Safe, comfortable crossings. You'll see a lot of strategies to get people across College, which, by the way, the city has a lot more control over College than Tiger, which is the state DOT has a lot more control over that. Trees, outdoor seating. You'll see lots of strategies for those things. Lots of different elements that traffic calming. And, you know, this is kind of where things are today. You'll hear us talking a lot about curb cuts. Those are those drives where people get in and out of commercial areas. And it really is detrimental to a true pedestrian environment. If we want people to walk, we gotta, first and foremost, you gotta create a pleasant environment for them to walk. And so, you know, things moving forward, you know, we've heard a lot of people reference some of the early developments that happened. And we don't want to shy away from that, you know. I think in the future, what we want you to understand is if all of these sites could be assembled and something really coherent and cohesive is done, you know, this is not the model, this would not be the model moving forward. It would be, you know, much more generous sidewalk environments, much more engaging ground floor uses. And, you know, I know it's kind of a little hard to see here, but the difference that 8 feet make can be all the difference in the world for creating a walkable environment. A 10-foot sidewalk can feel really constrained. In some places we've seen 5-foot sidewalks. 18 feet, 20 feet really gives you that opportunity to do plantings, to have outdoor dining, and it just makes all the difference in the world. This, by the way, is a drawing of all the curb cuts, all the different things. If you're a pedestrian, all the times that you have a vehicle conflict. So in all of the strategies you'll see a great reduction in the amount of curb cuts. What we'll try to do is create an internal circulation environment that gets a lot of those car movements down to just a handful of places for pedestrians. That's another thing about this area. It's really big. It's really long. You know, a true walkable environment has lots of different blocks that you can turn down, and usually those need to be about 300 feet in length. So this is something called a super block, but not super in a good way, right? Like it's super in a really bad kind of way. Vibrancy. Now we're talking about something we've heard about. You know, we want more and interesting storefronts. We want a variety of businesses and ones that serve a diversity of community needs. And so you'll see a lot of strategies aimed at that. And we know when we talk to people, and this isn't just your community, this is most communities we talk to, you know, we want more of these kinds of things, those kind of neighborhood uses like a grocery store or a cafe. We want interesting, boutique uses, and we want to celebrate our artisans and craft in this community. We want to see art galleries and maker spaces and music venues and those kinds of things. And so you'll see strategies for that. One of the challenges we have to overcome is retail loves traffic. Now that could be pedestrian traffic. In fact, that's the best kind for retail. But it's also vehicular traffic. And you can see where retailers locate in your community. They locate on Tiger where the traffic is. So having full storefronts means getting some type of traffic on College Avenue. So we want to figure out how can we get pedestrian traffic to turn this corner. And part of it's the walkability that we talked about. Part of it's thinking about some anchors that are going to make people want to be here. If you have anchors, that helps small businesses, that helps build smaller storefronts as well. We think something like a junior Target. We've worked in a number of university communities. They're kind of a smaller format. They work really well in this kind of environment. And we see them opening in more university environments. But other types of anchors could be a brewery, could be a food hall. All of these things bring in people in ways that benefit small business. And so that's something that you'll see explored throughout this. There's other kinds of unconventional anchors. Could be a museum, it could be some kind of visitor center, could be an outdoor, a new performance venue, say at Abernathy Park. All of these things bring people in and it helps small business. Another thing that helps small business is it really does take an ecosystem. You need entrepreneurs, and one idea is, and something that we've talked to the university about, that the university shared, is they're looking at looking for sites and looking at potentially investing in a business incubator, and that would be something that for they're producing lots of talent every year, and for some of the more entrepreneurially inclined. Really creating an environment that helps them get that startup business off the ground, right? So it's about anchors, but it's also about entrepreneurs and giving them the support that they need, especially in that early startup phase. So something like that somewhere on College Avenue would be really helpful. Shared spaces, and now I'm talking about town squares and village greens, those kind of, often these are the gems of any community. They're the places that when you think of your community, or the places you want people to think of when they think of your community. They're the things you remember when you go to other communities that they have really great public spaces. And so in all these drawings, you'll see opportunities for just those kinds of spaces that people can gather and use in different ways over the course of the year. And not all of them are big. You'll see some small spaces. Some of the spaces people love and remember about a place are really small. It might be an alley, it might be a small little pocket park. But if it's invested in the right way, it can be really great and really special. And thinking about ways to incorporate art, I think you got a great artist community. That's going to be really important to making a space authentic to this place. Having the place be welcoming and connected is really important. How do people get here? How do they get around here? That's so important. And so we're talking about anything from transit accessibility, bike accessibility. The city's got a plan to invest in bike infrastructure on College Avenue, but also parking. We asked folks in the last meeting, how will most of you, if this district, if Uptown becomes a more vibrant district, how are you going to get here? Finding a convenient place for people to park and park once is really important. So one of the things that really adds traffic is when people go somewhere, then they get in the car, they go somewhere else, and then they get in the car and go somewhere else. So creating a centralized place for people to park and an inviting environment for people to then walk around is one of the most effective strategies we can create. And these are some images from the city's plan to invest in college with protected bike facilities. We found that people use bike facilities far more. I know a lot of times people say people won't ride bikes. They will if it's protected. If it's just a bike lane on the side of a road, most people won't feel safe. Most people won't use that. But if you create some protection, far more people will use it. Having gateway elements, that you think about that intersection of Tiger and college, and wouldn't it be great to flip the script? I mean, that's probably the place that universally everybody agrees they like the least. And you'll see, certainly one of the employee strategies to make that a more comfortable crossing. But what if we also added to that some inviting public space and some gateway elements that say, welcome to our city, this is who we are. And it is the most visible corner of your community, and there's an opportunity there to say something about yourself. Transit's going to be so important. In the strategic plan, we shared examples of partnerships in other university towns, where the university and Virginia Tech, for example, in Blacksburg, they contribute half the funding to a really well-funded transit system. So there's going to be a need for a partnership between the university. They're going to have to be a player in this. You'll hear us talk about parking garages a lot. One of the strategies you'll see us employ a lot, you'll hear us talk a lot about liner buildings. What liner buildings are is something that wraps around structured parking. We know we're going to need to park people somewhere in this area, but what you can do is you can put housing, you can put different uses in front of it, so you don't have that kind of concrete eyesore. You have some signage that lets people know where to find the parking, but otherwise they can't see it, and that's something that we use throughout. In other places, you can use different screening methods, so it's attractive, or at the very least, not an eyesore to the community. This is an example of one that's, again, I was sharing an example from Virginia Tech and Blacksburg. We're doing a lot of work there. This is an example. This one's getting ready to go underway. And this was an image of a liner building around a structured parking facility that emerged from a plan that we worked on. That street network, that thing we were talking about, I said you have these super blocks. You'll see in every scenario, we're trying to create a block structure and a street structure that gets cars off the main road. So if they do start kind of backing up, it's happening in internal development. More importantly, this creates an environment where you park once and people can walk around, and it creates a more authentic district. Then I want to talk about natural systems. Actually, I want to step back for 1 second. So one other element about traffic that I was talking about, we were on Tiger last night. We saw the cars stacking up and backing up on to get into Chick-fil-A. You all had talked about it. We believed you, but we saw it firsthand. And I can tell you on the north side, one of the things the city is doing is trying to work with property owners to create kind of a road behind all those buildings to get that traffic out. So if it stacks up, it's not doing it on Tiger. That's exactly what this strategy, it's one of the many things this strategy does, right? It gets cars off of Tiger. If they do back up, they're backing up in a way that's internal. And so again, this isn't a traffic study. We're not going to solve every problem on Tiger, but where possible, we've taken curb cuts off the street, trying to get traffic off of there. Now, on natural systems, that's something we're going to talk about because we heard from you all and we agree. We think this is one of the biggest and best opportunities for this area. And a lot of cities are finding new and creative ways to incorporate development in natural systems. The old way was kind of trying to engineer in a really artificial way natural systems. And it turns out it's a lot less expensive. It's a lot better for the environment. To work with nature where possible, and in many ways this creates some great amenities. So we want to share with you some examples. These are examples of developments that work with nature, and I'll share a few ideas with you. One of the things that we noticed that this site has is a lot of topography, and these are examples where cities have worked with that with some of their parks and public space. We have some ideas for Abernathy Park where that topography can become kind of a natural amphitheater for performances. And so that's a way to work with nature. We've seen some other cities turn some of that topography into some really fun and interesting playscapes. And these are things that children really enjoy. Creek daylighting. This is a term for that, or it's a concept that we think could really have merit in this area where you actually have a couple of creeks that you can't see because they're underground right now. At one point, they were engineered to go through kind of stormwater drains and so on. What a lot of cities are doing is bringing those back to daylight. That's why we call it daylighting. And they can provide wonderful amenities in cities. They can be incorporated in developments. They can be incorporated into more natural settings. People love water, and this is a way to take water that you have and just bring it again to daylight. One of the things you'll see are strategies that kind of even invite that in ways that you can see or would be able to see from College Avenue and follow a creek all the way to the river on a boardwalk. And it's great for the natural environment as well. Opportunities for recreation. Maybe having that kiosk that rents or storefront presence. You go and you rent a kayak, you rent a bike, and then they kind of can tell you where to go to pick up that kayak down by the lake. We think that would be really beneficial. Continuing to invest, you got some great boardwalks. Continuing to invest in bike infrastructure along the waterfront, jogging paths, all of this, getting people into nature. You've got a lake; it's right there. It's right next to your, right next to the center of your town. So, finding opportunities to encourage people to use it more is a really logical opportunity. You'll see playscapes and nature playscapes. This is something we see a lot of cities doing that we think would be a great idea, great opportunity here. We heard people asking for more kind of family-friendly amenities. Playscapes kind of use the natural topography. They might use a daylighted creek and use natural elements, things that have very little impact or no impact on the environment, provide educational opportunities, and provide opportunities for play. And we think this would be a real natural, literally and figuratively, opportunity for park development in your community. Passive uses. We always like to point this out. Not every part of a park needs to be programmed. Having open space and letting people figure out how to use it in passive ways is really important. It's an important part of any park development. But also finding opportunities to maybe get people near water. These are examples of, you see an example of a beer garden that's actually in a park. There's a kiosk where you can go, get beer or food, and there's picnic tables, at different times of the year when it's usable, when the weather allows for it, and it just gets people right next to that edge of the water, and it's, this can be a very popular approach as well. These ideas are not mutually exclusive. We've got a lot of park space to think about and dream about. Lastly, livable. I think that any truly healthy, vibrant district is going to have residents and a mix of residents, a diversity of housing types, and you'll see in all the scenarios we have contemplated, there aren't any that don't have housing. We want to be realistic. Every one of them has housing. What we're presenting is a mix, not just of student housing, but of non-student housing in some ways that we're confident are very marketable and very realistic. And you can see that housing in different densities. This is an example actually of a student housing development on a project we were involved in where we worked with the neighborhood. It backed up onto a single family neighborhood. And this is actually the architect to figure out ways to kind of reduce its impact and preserve some natural elements as well. This is, you'll see a lot of examples of what we call kind of pedestrian only zones. You'll see some of these that kind of function like alleys. This is not a rendering, this is part of that development. That was something the community said they wanted. And so you'll see a lot of examples of that. This is another example of a mixed use building. This one, this is something we worked on in Lexington, Kentucky, where a junior Target anchor was brought to the table. And so they're on the ground floor, and you see those 20-foot sidewalks. These trees, actually, I've been there more recently, they're really starting to grow and fill out, and they'll get better over time. And you can see different ways that development and density can be addressed and staggered back, so you kind of reduce that impact for the pedestrian experience. I also wanted to share some examples of non-student housing, and we wanted to share some of these examples for a couple of reasons. One, you can see how some of this development works with topography, how it can kind of be terraced down at the pedestrian level. You can see how it can you can use topography to provide privacy for residents, and I also wanted to share a couple of these examples because you'll notice these don't have storefront retail. Now you'll see a number of examples, a number of opportunities for storefronts and for retail, but it's not realistic that every ground floor space in that district is retail. What we wanted to show are some other examples of how you can continue to have an inviting, pleasant pedestrian environment that's walkable, and some different architectural treatments of that, and the sidewalk environment to make that expanse passable and walkable. So those are the ideas we wanted to share. Now I want to get into the urban design concepts and what you'll see on the boards and how we applied some of these concepts to future development. So you'll see, first off, you'll see one of the things that an assembly of a larger property allows you to do is start to create actual walkable city blocks. So that's something you'll see, and in every case, as I said, the sidewalks I think we drew are about 20 feet wide, allow for some of that human scale walkability. You'll see lots of opportunities for outdoor seating. That's something that we heard over and over that people want to see. We think it'll be most successful where you'll see we've put some anchor retail at the corner, and we think that'll help actually a lot of smaller businesses on down the street. You'll see lots of efforts at, there we got the wind again. Oh, good save, thank you. Thought that one just the next time. All throughout, and you'll see especially on college, opportunities for more comfortable and safe street crossings. Perhaps I think almost certainly a traffic signal somewhere in there. And there's a lot of different treatments that we do. One of the things that we're recommending for Tiger is a pedestrian scramble, something where actually all the traffic stops for every couple of minutes or so that pedestrians can get across and feel safe. It really does feel unsafe getting across there right now. Yes. We think this is really that kind of ideal site for some kind of retail anchor. Again, it could be a junior Target, could be a grocery store, but having that here at the corner is going to help business all down the street, help fill some of those storefronts. We think with a mix of student and non-student focused businesses. Opportunities for storefronts, for entrepreneur space, some office space, co-working space. It's really important. You'll also see one of the things we did was really kind of focus on quality retail as opposed to quantity. So you'll see retail kind of at the corners of buildings or active storefronts. And so that's sometimes a more successful approach where you don't have market demand for retail everywhere. You can locate it at some of the most prominent corners. And that's really enhancing of the pedestrian environment. We talked about business incubators. We think there's any number of sites that could be really beneficial for that. We want to make sure that there's some office space for local entrepreneurs to grow space. One of the challenges when we did the strategic plan, we're looking at your economy. There's very little professional, non-university-based employment, especially in kind of the office sector. So if somebody wanted to start up a business, where could that space go? And co-working space is an increasingly popular approach to that. We want to get people near the water. We think there's great opportunities to enhance the natural environment, but also we've heard from folks that they'd like to see some opportunities for a cafe or some outdoor dining. We also think an outdoor music venue could be great here, and like you said, make use of maybe some of that natural topography. Explore lots of opportunities for public art throughout. We were just, I think yesterday, walking along one of the trails in Greenville and just seeing how they intersperse public art from local artists throughout. And it's really engaging, and really we feel it tells a story about their community, and who, we feel like we have a better sense of who they are as a community by displaying some of that art publicly. You'll see public space interspersed. In most cases, we have some at the corner. We think that's a great opportunity for that gateway environment. But you'll also see it kind of throughout. Other shared spaces. Actually, one other shared space, you'll see kind of that daylighting of these creeks. There's one kind of on the southern portion, and you'll see kind of a park environment around that, maybe a boardwalk that Maybe you see it again from College Avenue, but you can follow along a boardwalk all the way to the river. Wouldn't that be a cool idea? We talked about the street grid. And yeah, opportunities to expand the park. One of the ideas we have is putting some on-street parking on Kiowee. And what that enables us to do is maybe remove the parking that's in Abernathy right now. When we were in Abernathy Park and we're standing in that parking lot, some of the best views of the lake and best parts of that space are parking lot right now. So we thought, why don't we shift that to on-street parking, get the same number of spaces, can still make it ADA accessible, and free up some of that space for some other use. And yeah, here's that concept of kind of following a daylighted creek all the way to the water. Ideas for naturescape programming, that kayak rental. You'll see different potential locations for that in some of the different scenarios, but we think these would be great programming ideas for the park. And then housing, really providing a diversity of housing options where you see yellow, you see student housing, where you see orange, you see non-student housing. We have, in a lot of cases, these are pedestrian connections. So we've actually, I think there's something like 14 curb cuts along Tiger. We've got it down to 2 in our scenarios. These would just kind of be pedestrian-only spaces that you all said you wanted to see. And really, with thinking about this as a bigger site instead of individual developments, you can really start to think about how to do development, do density in some places that isn't even really that visible for most community residents. So having a bigger site enables us to design things in a way that, yes, there's development, but we can come up with creative ways to minimize its impact. So, that's a summary. I want to share with you a couple of other things, and then really get your all feedback and invite you, if you haven't been to the boards or you want to come back to them, to come to them, and we'll all be there, and myself and Justin and Jen and members from the city will be there and happy to talk to you. But I wanted to share this with you because these are some of the goals that City Council looks at, and this is kind of these are their guiding values and principles. And we've been looking at these throughout. As we developed the strategic plan last year, as we're thinking about development, how many of these ideas and values can we interweave in this? And so inclusivity and thinking about opportunities for people across different age spans, and creating usable things like the nature playscape and creating some family amenities. Engaged in healthy living, really enhancing that public space, enhancing opportunities for recreation, environmental sustainability. You saw that idea of daylighting those creeks. Creates a great amenity. It's fantastic for the ecology of your city as well. Smart and planned growth based on healthy transit-oriented urban design principles. This would be envisioned as very much a transit-supporting development. An economically resilient environment, right? That supports residents and businesses. We tried to create several strategies that would support businesses. Safe and secure communities. Really, we wanted to focus on improving those crossings, making those feel safer. All right, so, on down the list, I won't read every one of these, but, town and county relationships, we're really looking at how we can, you can't address everything with any particular site. That's a mistake a lot of communities make, but we really feel like there are ways that these designs address a lot of these values. So for today's activities, if you haven't done them already, please walk around. We've got we've got some introductory materials on the site that can kind of orient you. We have you can read in a more detailed way some of the public feedback that you all gave us last time and how we're reporting that. And this will be made available on the website. And then you'll see these 3 alternatives. And we really, we've got, assuming the wind complies, we've got, we want you to kind of take those Post-it notes and tell us, you'll see boards next to them and say, like, what do you like about this alternative? What do you think could be improved? And so we need those comments. I was telling some folks, like, my memory's not good. I heard a lot of comments. My memory's not good enough to remember 100 comments. But if you write them down, then we can't forget them. So that's really helpful when you all do that for us. And we will try to incorporate those in some revised scenarios. So tell us what do you like? Tell us what we could change or improve. And also this will be made available on the website. We'll do another survey and hopefully reach as many people as we can. But use those Post-its, get those pens out, let us know what you think, and do go to the website and we'll keep you updated that way. So that concludes the presentation. I want to thank you all for coming out, and do meet with us at the boards. I'll be probably standing at one of the ones in the back, and just let us know what you think, and let's continue this conversation, because we'll come back with another round of edits and revisions based on what you all tell us. So I want to thank you all very much for your time. Thank you for being here.